Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Have you ever wondered what's the difference between the parametric EQ and the 10-band graphic EQ? If you did, I'm here to bring you all the essential info, together with some playing so you can hear the graphic EQ and its possibilities in action. Okay, let's get to it. First things first, and I think this one is quite obvious to everyone. With the parametric EQ, you get to choose what frequency range you want to manipulate. Here you get to choose the frequency, and here you get to manipulate it, meaning you can cut or boost that frequency. You can't do that with a graphic type of EQ, because this type of EQ has the frequency ranges already pre-selected for you. There are 10 frequency ranges inside this 10-band graphic EQ, which is emulating the MXR's 10-band graphic EQ. They range from 30 Hz all the way up to 16 kHz. 9 of these 10 bands work as bell boosts or cut. So anytime you make any kind of change inside this graphic EQ, you're making bell boosts or bell cuts. Only the final band, the 16K band, works as a high or a low shelf. So when you boost this frequency, you're actually making a high shelf boost, and when you lower this frequency, you're making a high shelf cut. If you missed the video where I explained the parametric EQ and several other types of EQ in depth, you can visit that video. The link will pop up right here. But if you're having a hard time visualizing what's the difference between a bell and a shelf, here's the whole deal about that. What I have here in front of me is Reaper's stock EQ VST plugin called ReaEQ, and I've copied the settings from the graphic EQ inside this parametric EQ. So this is what a bell boost looks like. When you boost the 5th band, which is 500 Hz inside that EQ, you are doing something like this. And when you cut, you are doing something like this. The only difference is with the final band, which works as a shelf. So when you boost, you're actually doing something like this. So it doesn't work as a bell boost or a bell cut, it's more of a shelf. I have to be honest and say that I don't have too much experience with the usage of graphic EQs. The only graphic EQ that I've used in the last few years was this API 560 by Waves, and I've used that on drums, on kick drums, on acoustic guitars. If you want to try a free but also great graphic EQ plugin, I strongly suggest that you check out the Voxengo's Marvel GEQ. The second big difference between a parametric EQ and a graphic EQ is that with the parametric one, you get to choose the Q value of your boosts and your cuts. With the graphic EQ, you don't have that luxury, and usually that Q factor is preset for you, and it will sometimes dynamically change depending on the boost or cut. Now I've searched the internet to find the MXR's 10-band graphic EQ manual. I haven't found one, and I'm not absolutely sure how these Q values change within the MXR's 10-band graphic EQ. Okay, that's enough of me talking. Let's actually demonstrate the qualities and the possibilities of the graphic EQ. I'm gonna quickly run you through the signal chain. I have the compulsive drive, which is the OCD, in front of the cartographer amp going into a York Audio Friedman 4x12 IR. This EQ is disabled and will remain disabled. And after that, we have the 10-band graphic EQ. In this video, I will be using the full humbucker on my Strat. I won't be splitting it this time, mostly because with this humbucker we get a lot more low end, and that's one of the things that I want to manipulate, and with a single coil that would probably be kinda hard to hear. I have 4 snapshots, and the only thing that changes between them is the graphic EQ settings. So first one is the one with the flat EQ, the other one is labeled as a mid boost, the third one is just called brighter, and finally the fourth one is called scooped. Now I'm gonna play the most silliest riff known to mankind probably, and with every new turn I'm gonna switch to the different snapshot. Okay, starting with the flat EQ and working my way up. I encourage you to investigate this graphic EQ on your own, but here's just a quick run through of all the settings that you just heard. The first one was, of course, the completely flat settings with no EQ changes. The second one is labeled mid boost. As you can see, I've dipped some of the lows, I've dipped some of the very highs, but I very much accentuated the mid-range. The third snapshot is called Brighter, and this is what's kinda happening there. So I'm completely tilting this stone. I'm dipping the lows, but at the same time I'm accentuating the highs. And the final snapshot is called Scooped. The reason why it's called Scooped is because I'm scooping the mid-range. I am accentuating the highs and the lows and dipping the mids. There's one player that's known for a heavily scooped tone, and that's Dimebag Darrell. And probably all the Metallica stuff sounds scooped. I didn't plan this, but just for fun, let's create the so-called telephone effect. And to create a telephone effect, you have to really dip the lows, like really dip the lows and really dip the highs, and leave just that nasty mid-range active. So this is the telephone EQ setting. Actually, I need to dip some of the 250 more and boost some of the nasty mid-range. Anyway, that's it. I hope you now understand the potential benefits of using the graphic EQ. At first it sounds limiting. I can't change the frequency and I can't change the Q factor. But when you take another look, by limiting your options, you're actually enlightened and you can make your decisions quicker, basically. And when you have 10 bands with an EQ, that's a lot, and there's almost everything that you can fine tweak or massively tweak, as we saw here. But anyway, that's it. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like or a comment or whatever you feel like. I'll see you all soon. Addio.